So with Pascal, his work Pensée, which I think the key to understand it, because Pensée is just a group of notes that are gathered together in a book that was never finished. And so there's a number of ways that people thematize these notes. Sometimes it's chronological, or it's put into certain themes, or people try to construct it in relation to what they think was the final aim of Pascal. The way that I think it is best to approach Pensée is through 3 orders that Pascal talks about in the book. I think once you understand these 3 orders, you can get a real sense of the whole structure of Pensée and what he's doing. And if you did the book study with me, you'll know these. There is the order of the body, the order of the mind, and the order of the heart. And what Pascal does is he takes the order of the body first, let's do that, and then the order of the mind. So those are the 2 important ones. So he wants the reader to come to 2 conclusions, right? So this is the aim of Pensée in many ways. So with the order of the body, this is the order of bodily pleasure, of enjoyment, of worldly goods. And Pascal says that there is a sense of something that can fulfill us. We all have this, a sense of which there's something fulfilling. That's kind of affirmation. And the negation is we don't have it, right? There's something we're missing. So that's the negation. And we live between these 2, this contradiction between this sense of something that will make us complete and whole, and we can call this God for now, and the reality that we are missing this, that we live in a type of deprivation. And so Pascal argues that what we do to avoid confronting the reality of this situation is we distract ourselves. And he talks about divertissements. His favorite example is the hunt, where we want to pursue something, not so much in order to catch it, because if we catch the object, we quickly realize that it's not the thing that will make us happy. But we also don't want to imagine that we can never catch it, right? So we have to have this fine dance between pursuing things that are not so hard that we'll never get them, but not so easy that we'll get them too quickly. Right? So we live in this interesting thing where we not consciously, but unconsciously, we're trying to find this balance of having something. And this is why I love Roadrunner as an example. You know, Wile E. Coyote chasing the Roadrunner. You've got to feel that you're close enough to catch this thing without catching it. And therefore that distracts us from our misery and gives us a substitute enjoyment. So Pascal beautifully, and this is probably where he's at his best, articulates this vision of human subjectivity, does it very well. So at this level, if the reader accepts what he's saying, they will think, oh yeah, this is true, I'm in misery and I'm distracting myself with these silly things. And the wealthier a person is, or the more they're a celebrity, the more they can distract themselves, but they can never get this object that will bring ultimate satisfaction, right? So we're all just distracting ourselves, and I say that the better you are at it, the wealthier you are, just means you've got more trinkets to distract yourself. But the human condition is still one of misery. So that's Pascal's thing. So he gets you to the point where you're going like, oh yeah, that's really depressing, right? And then he goes on to the order of the mind, where he says, okay, well, once you realize that this is a depressing situation and you maybe start asking yourself, well, you know, is there a God? Is there a fulfillment? Religion's promise fulfillment, is that true? And then Pascal says that, okay, at the order of the mind, there is the object that you want, which is knowledge, to know if there's a God and there's salvation. And then there is the reality of not knowing, that, you know, there's people who think lots of different things and you can never get that full insight, so you're missing something. And the compromise formation for Pascal is probability, is possibility. So you can decide whether it's possible that God exists or it's possible that a certain religion is true, but you can never get anything more than that. So that's the compromise formation at the order of the mind. And once the reader, again, if they're convinced by this, Pascal has brought the reader to a place in which they realize they're unhappy, and they also realize that they can't know whether there's an answer. And then Pascal says, okay, at this point, you should want an answer. So what you should do is become receptive to the idea of God. So do what people do who are religious, who say that they have the joy and the certainty that comes from faith. Do what they do and hope for the best. And he says, at the order of the heart, there is the possibility that you get the joy that is promised at the order of the body but not delivered. And you get a certainty that is hoped for at the level of the order of the mind but is not able to be grasped there. So the order of the heart is when, as I say, you kind of get the joy and the certainty of the other orders, but without, but at a different level in a different way. So you get this confidence and you get this sense of wholeness and completeness, right? And with that frame, that's Pascal's apologetic frame, what you have is a type of perverse type of religion, in that at the level of knowledge, Pascal knows that there is a lack in knowledge, a lack in knowing whether there's a God, and there's a lack in terms of enjoyment, a lack in terms of bodily pleasure. So there's this lack that Pascal knows. Nevertheless, he believes that in a wholeness and a completeness, and the religious practices that he does can be seen as a type of fetish object that allow him to believe while knowing.